Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Right, okay, so after a couple of weeks break, we're back with the second round draw for the 23rd edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard Game. Uh, it started with 32 in the first round, I believe, if my memory serves me right, and last time the wheel cut you lot exactly in half, so we're left with 16. Just to remind ourselves who those 16 are. They are A, Boom Shakalaka, Captain Quebec, C. Collins 44, Cheeseball, Damien Handel 420, Foghorn Sam, KK Kombu, O. Div Hurt 6 Irv. I've no idea how you meant to pronounce that. Rigno, Schwer Industry, Tyson Magamenov, The Dirty UFC Man, Trail Allman, Trig, and Ex-Con Chris. Right, so they're the 16 that are going to be in it. And yeah, we'll just go back to the page we were on before. And for this week, we have UFC Fight Night, Gilbert Burns versus Sean Brady. And yeah, fight right at the top of the welterweight rankings. And a lot of the main events for the fight nights tend to take the form of veteran prospect, veteran contender versus a prospect, and I suppose in a way this is a bit kind of a similar one because Burns, Gilbert Burns, very much getting on a bit now, 38 years old, and Sean Brady is I want to call him a prospect, but he's kind of he's already proven himself as a legitimate contender, in my opinion. Normally, I'd be tempted to go with experience. In that case, that would be Burns. But Brady he's looked really good. He's 16-1. His only loss is Bilal Muhammad, who's obviously now the champion. So obviously that was aged very well. Gilbert Burns on a 2-fight losing streak, but again, Bilal Muhammad and Jack Della Maddalena they're decent, they're respectable losses. Going to be a tough fight for sure, but simply because of how good Sean Brady has looked so far, I'm going with him by a 4th round submission for that one. But you're not here to listen to my rambles about the what I think is going to happen. You're here to see who you're getting drawn with. So first up, it's A. Let's see who A gets drawn with. Or A, laugh my ass off, and AZ, or however you pronounce it, I'm not sure. And he gets Andre Petrosky. Andre Petrosky there for A. Andre Petrosky. Quite far down the card, surprisingly. I thought he'd have been he's been around long enough that he'd be a bit higher on the card rather than the second bottom prelim, but I have got him to win a decision anyway against Dylan Budka, who's Budka's made a little bit of a struggle to adapt to the UFC. Lost his debut. Obviously got the LFA and Contender Series wins behind him, so he's got that going for him. But Petrosky he leads the way in terms of experience for this one, and I think that is going to be the key factor in this one. Got a decision win against Josh Fremd last time out. So yeah, I think that's actually quite a safe pick, to be honest. So I'd expect to see A through to the next round. Boom Shakalaka next to take on the wheel. Let's see who's going to be drawn. He's going to be drawn with. He gets Kyle Nelson. Kyle Nelson for Boom Shakalaka. And is a tough opponent. He's it needs to be because he's up against Steve Garcia, who I'm tempted to pick by KO because, well, let's be honest, if he is going to win, that's how it happens. Given the 4-fight KO streak he's put together, but I think the UFC have started to take that into consideration, and I'd say that compared to his other ones, Kyle Nelson is a considerable step up in opponents. Is on a 3-fight win streak himself. Last time out, KO'd Bill Algeo, and he's proven on numerous occasions he can go the distance. So it's I think this is going to be a much harder opponent for Garcia, one that Garcia can't put away straight away. So I can see Nelson surviving and then taking the last couple of rounds and getting a decision win that way. So again, another one I'm reasonably confident on, but obviously it is a little bit of a wild card with Garcia's knockout power. But it could definitely be worse. Captain Quebec next to take on the wheel. And that makes it a head-to-head. So he gets Steve Garcia, the more explosive side of that fight. Yeah, and as I've just said, really, it's if Steve Garcia is going to win, he's going to win by knockout. I can't see him winning a fight that goes the distance against Carl Nelson. Submission's pretty much out of the question, that's for sure. But yeah, I still fancy, like I say, Carl Nelson to make it quite a long, arduous fight for him, drag it out over the 3 rounds, and I think overall, Nelson's gonna once he's weathered that early storm, he should take control of the fights. But with regards to Garcia, though, it's always that chance of a flash knockout, and Captain Quebec's gonna be hoping that happens in that fight. So Boom Shakalaka versus Captain Quebec there, a bit of head-to-head interest for the game. C. Collins, 44, next to learn his fate. And he gets Yizza. Yizza there for C. Collins, 44. And it's an interesting career looking looking over it, because I'd be lying if I said I knew too much about him. He was in the UFC a couple of years ago. Again, I would also be lying if I could say I remembered his run in the UFC off the top of my head, because frankly, I couldn't. But yes, sort of via the road to the UFC, clawed his way back into the promotion. Rongju, who's also on the card, is has a very similar story as well. Again, sort of former UFC fighter, and then sort of clawed his way back through the road to the UFC. But not 100% sure what to expect from him. But I'm gone with him for a decision win against Gabriel Santos. So 2-1 in the UFC after his two losses rather in the UFC after his 2 wins in LFA is what I meant to say. But he's the favourite for some reason though. He's minus 265. I could understand him being a slight favourite, but I think that's quite. I don't understand why he's that much of a favourite. I think this is a much closer fight than it's being made out to be. So yeah, I'm going with the slight underdog Yisa for this one. Cheeseball is next to take on the wheel. Let's see who Cheeseball gets drawn up against, or with rather. Okay, so the Kyle Nelson Steve Garcia fight is shaping up to be our Lucky Bastard Game main event, as Cheeseball now joins Boom Shakalaka against Captain Quebec with Kyle Nelson, who yeah, as I can't really repeat myself too much here. It's is what it is. I expect him to weather the early storm and see out a decision win. Just has to be careful to avoid that KO power, particularly in the first round, more than anything. Once he gets into the sort of, well, basically, I'd say early to mid second round, he should be all right, I reckon. But obviously, you never can be completely sure against Steve Garcia, though. Quickly becoming one of my favourite fighters just because of how entertaining his fights are. Short but entertaining sometimes. But yeah, no, I do think you've got the more favourable side of that matchup. Damien Handel, 420, next to take on the wheel. Let's see who he gets drawn with for tomorrow night's fights. It's right on the line there, but the wheel's gone with Vanessa Demopoulos. Or I probably not pronounced that one right, but Vanessa, that's probably not how you spell it either. Demopoulos. Yeah, I don't know. I know which one I mean. But yeah, she's again sort of tough fighter. Usually goes the distance in her fights. 11-5. She's up against Jacqueline Amarin though, who she's had quite a few submission wins as of late, and 8-1 in her career, and very exciting fighter to watch so far. So I wouldn't be surprised if she gets another submission in this one, and so I've gone with Jacqueline Amarin for a third round submission over Vanessa Demopoulos, or I don't know. I'm useless with that name. No idea, but I think that's a slight underdog there. I think Damien Handel's going to need a little bit of luck with that one. Right, next is Foghorn Sam. Let's see who Foghorn Sam gets paired with for tomorrow's action. And he gets Nathan Fletcher. Nathan Fletcher there, first prelim fights. One that I'm very confident in personally. He was obviously meant to be fighting on the last UFC card, but had to pull out. But back this time, and my opinion of him hasn't changed in the last 2 weeks. He's looked brilliant on Cage Warriors, and he's a very exciting British prospect in the featherweight division against Zyga Mantas Ramaska, who again was meant to be fighting a couple of weeks back. And yeah, Ramaska's got respectable record, but and the opponents he's fought have been better than you would expect from the more obscure regional promotions, but still it isn't quite Cage Warriors level. So I can't see this as being anything other than a very straightforward first round submission win for Nathan Fletcher. And in turn, Foghorn Sam. Okay, KK Kombu is next to learn his fate, or their fate. Or, it's and it gets Jessica Andrade, who's I always enjoy seeing her on the card, particularly when it's as part of this game as well, because so the last two times Jessica Andrade's been on a Fight Night card, I think it's the last two times anyway. I've picked her to lose, and she's gone on and won because she had a 3-fight loss streak before then, and she snapped out of it with the last 2 wins. So both times I predicted her to lose, and both times she won. And on top of all of that, both times she was drawn with me, just by sheer coincidence. So, yeah, so I've had a bit of a. I should have learnt my lesson by now about shitting on her and then going on to win. But as in keeping with tradition, not just because of tradition, but this time I do also genuinely think she's going to lose. Third time round, I know, but I've gone with her opponent, Natalia Silva. Again, it's a promising prospect. Andrade's obviously a bit of a step up compared to her recent opponents, but I can't see any reason why she couldn't get a decision win over Jessica Andrade, who's like I say, okay, sure, she's on a 2-fight win streak, but she does have quite well, she's getting on a bit in age, isn't she? Not sure exactly how old, but another one of the old being fed to the young, I feel, of this fight. But it'd be interesting to see if I jinx it again, and maybe that's the secret. Maybe that's why she's winning. Maybe it's because every time I say she's going to lose, she ends up winning. So I don't know, but we'll see. We'll see how that plays out. Okay, so this is O div HT6 Earth or High Divert Earth. I've no clue how you pronounce that. I'm guessing he must have yeah, he must have had a cat or something just walk over the keyboards when he was making his Tapology account. There's no idea how you're meant to pronounce that one, but yeah, let's see who you get drawn with anyway. Let's hope the fighter's name's pronounceable at least. It's Felipe dos Santos. Bit easier to pronounce that one. Felipe dos Santos for O Diver 6 Earth. And yes, I've got his opponent Andre Lima to win that one. It's a very close fight though. It's really 50-50 because it's Andre Lima's 9-0, which is probably my main reason. Because I always like whenever I do tend to think, oh wow, undefeated in the UFC, they could go far. The UFC is going to try push them particularly, but Felipe dos Santos himself is only 8-1, and that loss was to Manel Kate by a decision, which has aged very well, to be fair. So well, it wasn't that long ago actually, but I mean, you know what I mean. It's not that's a very respectable loss. So yeah, that's a real 50-50 one. I've gone with Lima, but I could very easily be wrong with that one. Yeah, that's just a toss up on that one. That's a 50-50 chance. Either of them could take that. So bit of a topping cost one there for Odiver 6 or however you pronounce the name. Right, Rigno next to find out what the wheel has in store for him. And he gets Chris Padilla. Chris Padilla there for Rigno. Chris Padilla. And mentioned Rongshu earlier in this video, and I was mentioning about fighters who sort of made a comeback for the UFC. That's who Chris Padilla is up against, and I'll focus on Chris Padilla first because he's obviously the one that's been drawn in this fight. He's 4-fight win streak, very good so far. It's obviously his UFC debut as well, but that's the thing. He's still relatively inexperienced in all things considered, but and his regional records, yeah, the records of some of his opponents do look quite good, but I'm questioning the quality of the promotions that he's fought in. I can't say I'm overly familiar with those particular ones he's fought in, but if we go back to his opponent Rongshu, on the other hand, who has probably the most impressive redemption arc I've seen, probably rivaled only by Yizha, but I'd say Rongshu's story probably takes the cake a little bit more. Because he was in the UFC 2 years ago. Last time out, lost to Ignacio Bahamondes by a Bravo choke. But since then, he's won 3 road to UFC fights and also a UAE Warriors fight along the way. So he's sort of won 4 since then. And here he is back again, another crack at the UFC. And I've got him to win by first round submission, because most of his wins on the what do you call it, road to UFC have come via submission. And I did go and rewatch that fight against Ramondes with the Bravo choke because remember reading that and off the top of my head I was like, what the fuck is a Bravo choke? I couldn't think what it was. So I had to go back to sort of remind myself on that one. But comparing that fight to his road to UFC fights, which also caught up on its grappling was noticeably better in those road to UFC fights. So I reckon he's probably got that. That's probably what was lacking in his first UFC run. So hopefully he can put it together this time. Um, Impressive story anyway. There's and this is where he probably gets sparked out in the first round, though, in my predictions. But who knows? Moving on anyway. Schwer Industry. Let's see who Schwer Industry gets drawn with. And talking about the other one who's got the similar story, Yisser again comes up. So as a very similar kind of thing, was in the UFC, got cut by the UFC, back again for a second crack at it. C Collins 44 also had Yisser. I was just checking that as well. But yeah, no, it seems that that Road to UFC series over in China seems to have worked almost in a similar way to the Redemption series of the Ultimate Fighter they did back when Matt Serra won. That got a title shot against GSP, which he amazingly won. It seems to have worked in a similar kind of way to that. That's what it reminds me of. With these fighters getting another crack at the promotion. But yeah, as for Yisa, I've also gone with him as well. This time for a decision against Gabriel Santos, even though Yisa's the slight underdog as far as the bookies are concerned. I disagree with them on this occasion. But yeah, anyway, I'm quietly confident in Yisa anyway. Tyson Magamainov next to take on the wheel. Let's see who's going to be in Tyson Magamainov's corner tomorrow night. And he also gets Jacqueline Amorium. Hang on, was it opponent that got? Oh yeah, no, it's Jacqueline. This is the first time Jacqueline's come up. Jacqueline Amorium. Yeah, because it was who had Jessica Demopoulos? Damien Handel. So that's Damien Handel 420. So Tyson Magamainov, Damien Handel 420 is head-to-head one in that time. And yeah, I'd say Tyson Magamainov has got the much more favourable side of that draw. Being paired with the lady that's been just submitting the fuck out of people lately. There's no other way of describing it really, and it's been very entertaining to watch. So anyone that any of these casuals, yeah, no, we'll just call them casuals because fuck them. That says, oh, the women's fights are boring, blah blah blah. They always go the distance. Yeah, watch one of Jacqueline Amorium's fights. You won't be bored from that, and if you are still bored, then maybe MMA isn't for you. It's very it's very entertaining to see, and I think for a lot of those guys that tend to shit on women's MMA, there should be a breath of fresh air for them. And yeah, there are certainly some boring women's fighters out there. I'm not denying that, but they do get a lot of undue hate, and and frankly, the only way that attitude's going to change is more exciting women's fighters coming along and getting the spotlight. And hopefully, Jacqueline Amorium can be one of those in the future. That who knows, maybe not going to quite compare her to Ronda Rousey just yet, but maybe do a similar thing. Just that could be completely dominant, have a rise up through the promotions, but promotions. No, I mean, take the plural off of that. Promotion being the UFC. Rise up through promotions. That suggests she gets cut at some point, doesn't it? So didn't mean that implication, but yeah, no, I got gone off on a bit of a ramble there, but very entertaining fights to watch, and yeah, I think it's a quite a safe pick as well. One of the definitely one of the best picks you could be drawn with for this game. Right, the Dirty UFC Man is up next. Let's see who Dirty UFC Man gets matched with. He gets one of the main eventers, Gilbert Burns, the welterweight veteran for the Dirty UFC Man, and yeah, he's I'll say very tough veteran, but I feel like he is definitely past his peak. I remember there was an article I read saying where Gilbert Burns was saying that he feels like he's still got one last title run left in him. Honestly, I have to disagree with that. I can still see him getting some wins against some of the top guys in the division. I wouldn't say Sean Brady's one of them, though. That's the trouble. He can still hang in the top 10 of the rankings and the top 5 even of the rankings on his day. But yeah, time catches up with all of us, and I think Gilbert Burns is just a little bit beyond his peak, and this is the start where we start seeing him fall off a little bit. And yeah, so a reminder from the earlier in this video is pick Sean Brady by 4th round submission. I'd say probably a couple of years ago, I would have been picking Burns for the fight entirely. Or if I was going to go with Brady, it'd be by a decision. But yeah, it has changed a little bit, but still very tough veteran. He's not completely past it. He's still dangerous, but not quite the same fighter he was a few years back. Trail Allman next to take on the Wheel. Let's see who the Wheel's got in store for Trail Allman. And he gets Vanessa Demopoulos. I'll try and focus actually on Vanessa Demopoulos this time rather than just rambling on about Jacqueline and Morium. And it's just occurred to me I'm probably not pronouncing either of their names right. But yeah, in this, it's just focusing on her. She's very, very tough. Can go the distance. To be fair, she might not get submitted, but if I can't see her winning though, that's the trouble. And for the purposes of this game, you need to win. It's possible she'll go the distance, but even then, I'd still pick Morium for a decision win. And obviously, it doesn't matter how they win in this game; it's just that they win, and I just can't really see any reasonable path to victory for Demopoulos. And probably by decision, if anything, ironically enough, and even then, Morium's going to have an off night, I'd say. But still, maybe it's stranger things have happened in MMA. Right, down to the last two now. With Trig is next to take on the Wheel. Give it a spin. Let's see who Trig gets, and okay, so there's going to be quite a few. How many is that now on Vanessa Demopoulos? Who's been okay? So I was going to say earlier the Kyle Nelson, Steve Garcia was going to be our Lucky Bastard main event, but clearly not. That's been overtaken by this fight now. Yeah, Damian Handel. Is it just Damian Handel, Trail Allman, and Trig? I feel like there's been another one, but no, probably because yeah, Jacqueline Morium's come up as well. So yeah, it's 3 against 1 anyway. Just looking over that. Yeah, like I say, I can't really repeat myself too much on that fight, but other than that, yeah, Jacqueline Morium for a submission win, and Demopoulos, yeah, might survive the distance, but I think that's probably the best she can hope for. And finally, ex-con Chris. Let's see who ex-con Chris is drawn with. Again, right on the line, but the wheel says that is Isaac Dolgarian. Isaac Dolgarian there. New fighter and a fresh opportunity for me to ramble. Just what you want to hear, isn't it? Isn't it? Oh no, just getting to the end of this video. Oh nope, we're going into extra time with this video now that a new fighter's come up. That's particularly with Isaac Dolgarian, because I've got him by first round knockout. Massive favourite, minus 2,500 favourite with the bookies. Yeah, he's coming off a loss, but this is very much a rebound kind of fight to him, for him rather. Up against Brendan Marot, who 8-2 plus 1,200, and quite frankly, I just don't think he's got a chance. I really don't. I'm sorry, but that is just a mismatch. I think it's this is just a bounce back fight for Isaac Dolgarian. But yeah, it's and even that one loss so far that was Christian Rodriguez by split decision. So Isaac Dolgarian showing a lot of promise, and whether he is the real deal, we're still waiting to see, because he's only 6-1. He's still got a lot to prove, but this should be a walkover for him. Easily moves on to 7-1 after this one. So that is ex-con Chris almost certainly in the next round, in my opinion. Okay, so just go back to the Excel sheets and have a quick look over that. Let's see what the second round has given us, just to review what's happened. A with Andre Petrosky, Boom Shakalaka with Kyle Nelson. Captain Quebec up against him with Steve Garcia. C. Collins 44 with Yizha. Cheeseball also with Kyle Nelson. Damien Handel, the first of three with Vanessa Demopoulos. Foghorn Sam with Nathan Fletcher. KK Kombu with Jessica Andrade. Odiv 6 with Felipe dos Santos. Rigno with Chris Padilla. Schwer Industry also with Yizha. Tyson Magamenov with Jacqueline Morium. The Dirty UFC Man with Gilbert Burns. Trey Lawman with Vanessa Demopoulos, as is Trig as well. And ex-con Chris with Isaac Dolgarian. So that just leaves me to say good luck for all of you tomorrow night in this game. Some will need it more than others. And yeah, just good luck with your picks on Tapology. Good luck if you got any bets on this card. Always wish people luck with that. And I don't want to encourage gambling, obviously, but if you are going to do it, I hope you win. And let's just see how this plays out. Let's see how many of you are left in the third round. But until next time, so long for now.